Welcome back to the Mojo Podcast with me, Richard Stokes. If this is your first time, hello, it's great to have you here. If you're a regular listener, thank you so much for your support, and let me give you a big socially distanced hug by way of appreciation. This week on the Mojo Podcast, we delve into the world of US college sports. High stakes, high pressure environments where massive professional contracts in the NFL or NBA can be dreamed of, but only for the very talented few. A world where student athletes combine full-time studies with elite level, full-time athletic performance. And I've got an incredible guest for you this week.
Yes, I want to play at the next level. I want to be a professional athlete. But right now, where my focus needs to be is on Kansas State and impacting my teammates, being a great leader, and being the best football player I can be right now for Kansas State and help us win football games.
Skylar Thompson is the starting quarterback at Kansas State University, and he's the real deal. He has been setting the highly competitive Big 12 football conference alight over the past 3 years. A 30-game starter, which is the third most amongst Kansas State quarterbacks since 1990. He's known as a dual threat quarterback because he runs the ball as well as throwing it. He's just the second player in his school's history to throw for 5,000 yards and rush for 1,000 yards in a career. He's an enormous talent and is widely tipped to be a future NFL player. Don't worry if you're not a massive American football fan. We don't go deep into the intricacies of a game which can be physically brutal but also nuanced and highly strategic. Yes, I love this game, and indeed I used to play back in the day at a very different level to Skylar whilst at university in Leeds in the UK. Skylar and I focus our talk on the pressure on student athletes, the weight of expectation from fans and family, and how he deals with it. We also talk about adversity. And Skylar has a deeply painful story he shares around a family tragedy. He talks about how he not just survived this period, but has thrived as a consequence. Skylar, it's hard to believe sometimes, is only 23, but his maturity, focus and humility are just incredible. He shares his approach to leadership and talks about how his mojo can radiate and impact the mojo of his teammates. I love this conversation. It's honest, open, and really shines a light on an area of sport I didn't know so much about. So I hope you enjoy it too. If you do, can I ask you to do 3 things? Please subscribe to the podcast for more amazing Mojo stories from the world of sport. I've got some great guests lined up in the next few weeks. Please leave a 5-star rating. And the ultimate gift for any podcaster, could you write a short review on Apple Podcasts? 1 sentence is enough, and it really helps more people discover these incredible Mojo stories. Now, let's head over to Kansas for my Mojo conversation with Skylar Thompson. Okay, welcome back to the Mojo Podcast, and on this episode, we are going over to Manhattan, and it's not necessarily the Manhattan you may know. This is Manhattan, Kansas, home of Kansas State University, where my guest today, Skylar Thompson, is the quarterback for the Kansas State Wildcats. Skylar, how are you today? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on here.
My absolute pleasure. It's wonderful to get you on and to have this conversation about your mojo. And on that, I always start here, right? I'm really intrigued. So where is your mojo today out of 10, would you say?
I'm saying a 10.
Great.
Yeah, I try to keep my mojo up high every day. So I would say a 10 for sure.
Fabulous. What's driving that right now for you, Skylar? What's going on?
Mojo to me is just your attitude and your approach every single day. And for me personally, I always try to have a positive and energized approach to my day-to-day life. And even though it might not always be a 10, there's going to be some bad days, but I believe having that mindset can take you a long ways in life.
Brilliant. So that being energized and having this positive mindset that you've got And look, this is why I'm doing this particular series and talking to elite athletes, because I understand that having that positive mindset is incredibly beneficial. When you're in competitive situations. But I also know, and we're going to talk about where you are right now, and you're injured right now, and you've had a pretty serious injury. The effect of that on your mojo and keeping yourself, you want it to be at this 10, but you're not actually out there all the time doing what you love, doing what you're amazing at. So can you tell us a bit about your injury before we get into the better times?
Yes.
Let's talk about where you are right now.
Yeah. So about 18 weeks ago, on October 3rd, I got hit after I was throwing the ball, and I tore a ligament in my throwing shoulder and had to get surgery about 4 days after, and it ended my senior season. But from COVID, we got this year of eligibility back. So I'm able to come back for another year and have another senior year. So yeah, I got injured and had, I played sports my whole life, and this was a situation that I've never really experienced or dealt with before.
Right.
But it was obviously a lot at first, just, being emotionally just hurt and tore apart, because we were doing a lot of great things and starting to play some really good football. And then sure enough, things changed a little bit for me. So in saying that, I'm a captain for our football team, and my teammates are the ones who, at the beginning of every football season, they select those captains, and I was one of them. And so I knew that even though that I was hurt and not playing, that my teammates were still looking at me and still feeding off my energy in the way that I approached every single day, even though that I was hurt and not obviously participating in games. So, that was my mindset. I started my rehab after I got out of surgery, and just having, a positive mindset towards that, and just accepting what had happened. I think that's the biggest thing that myself and a lot of people in life, when things don't go well, we tend to get down and just focus on, why is this happening, and want people to feel sorry for us, or whatever the case may be. And granted, there's a time for that. There's a time to be angry, be frustrated, be upset, be sad. But at some point you gotta jump back on the horse and get yourself back up, and that was my mindset, and the way that I've carried myself throughout this whole process of my rehab. And it's an extensive rehab because it was a pretty serious injury. So I actually just started throwing a football again last week. So
oh, wow.
I went 4 months without throwing a football, which honestly, I don't think I've ever done in my life.
No.
And I'm 23 years old. So definitely was a lot of unexpected things, and some hard times, but I truly believe hard times present greater moments in life if you accept it and make it that way. So
wow. So in that, as you say, you've been playing sport all your life, and we'll get into a bit of that. And I know you played a lot of basketball when you were younger. I never really had to go through the trauma, the difficulty of a serious injury, but it sounds like to me, as you said, that acceptance and responsibility to yourself and to the team seems to have helped you through that pretty quickly.
Yes, 100%. And honestly, that is what got me through it. Honestly, our head football coach, Chris Kleiman, whenever I got hurt, he told me on the phone, as soon as it happened, he was like, "Skylar, you are still a captain of this football team, and we need you present. We need you at meetings. We need you at practice. We need you at games. We need you everywhere, because you're still a leader and you can still impact this football team, even though you're hurt." And that meant a lot to me. First and foremost, that my coach said that to me, but that is, I was surrounded by my teammates every single day, and I was busy. I was kept busy because of that. And I never really had time to sit and just think about it and get really upset. And I'm not saying there weren't times where I did have some time to do that, but it being around my teammates and coaches on a daily basis just helped me keep moving forward and having a positive mindset towards it.
There's your coach doing what a great coach should do, recognizing what his player needs, what his team needs, and drawing all that together in a highly motivational way. So that just sounds really, really smart. Because I know I've never been in elite sport, but I guess from the outside looking in, you sometimes think that when you are injured, you're almost taken away, from the rest of the team and kind of dealt with. But it sounds like obviously the medical stuff's been going on, but you've been absolutely integrated the whole way through in the team, which sounds like it's made a real difference. Members of the audience will have a sense of what American football is all about. But I just wanted to talk a bit about, your position, especially the quarterback. It's been described as the hardest position to play in American sport. And I can absolutely believe that. If there are rugby union fans listening in, I would equate it to playing both scrum half and fly half all at the same time, because you get the ball and you are the pivot point. Everything goes through you, right, from the start. So I'd love to just talk a bit about what that position means, why you chose that position. I guess looking all the way back to young Skylar, when did you first say, "Hey, I want to be quarterback"?
I was in third grade in grade school and playing football for the first time. And I knew I wanted to play football, but I had no idea what position I wanted to play or what was going to come out of it. And I got into practice one day, and at the beginning of practice, my coach at the time was like, "Does anybody want to play quarterback? We need some people that can throw the ball and want to play this position." And nobody raised their hand. And so I was like, well, I'll give it a shot, and ever since then, that's what I've done. And to me, what I love about playing quarterback, and as you said, I would say the same thing, that it is one of the most challenging positions in all of sports. For that reason and I say that because you have to know all 11 spots on the football field, and every single play, I'm getting the ball every single play. And oftentimes I'm gonna be a huge dictator in as far as our success and whether or not we win a football game. And you go back and look at my career and look at the games we lost and look at the games we won. If I play well, we win. And if I don't play a very good game, we lose more times than not. So, but for me personally, I love that pressure, and it's not a bad pressure. To me, it's a pressure of performing for my teammates, performing for my coaches. I love people having trust in me that I'm going to get the job done for them. And that's my daily approach to this position. I watch a lot of film. I do a lot of studying. I do a lot of on the field work, trying to improve my game as much as I can. And I do that because I want my teammates to trust me. I want my coaches to trust me. I want them to invest in me and have belief in me that I'm going to get the job done and help us win a football game. On top of that, that is all on the field stuff. Off the field and in the locker room, I'm a guy that everybody knows what I'm doing all the time and watching every move that I make. And that is also a pressure that is hard to deal with sometimes, because, having a sense of privacy a little bit is tough at times, but it's also something that is not hard for me, because I feel like I was raised by a really good family that raised me off some really good core values that have stuck with me since I moved out of the house. And, I've always been a kid that does things the right way and leads by example. And, so when I got to college and that pedestal got pretty high when I started playing, it definitely took some adjustment. I had my faults and, failures and whatnot, but for the most part, it was second nature to me to do things the right way and to influence my teammates in the locker room and just be a good leader, because I think that's a big part of me. I really like, and have a passion for impacting people and the people around me, and I want to make others around me better, in football and outside of football. So yeah, that's a general foundation of my position, and it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you that, because it's after you win a game or after you have success, it's just a feeling inside that I really can't even describe to you, of just knowing there's no better feeling than knowing the time, the preparation, the things you put into this position. When you win a game and feel that it all paid off is second to none. And it gets very addicting, and winning is very addicting to me. So I love it.
Right. So that, and they in there, as you said, when you have a good game or good day, even by and large, the team has got to stand a much better chance of winning. So as I say, it's all about your dedication to the preparation that you do, because the game itself is 60 minutes long, although it's obviously played over about 3 hours, but 60 minutes. But all that work you're doing all week, as you say, all your teammates, and this is I'm really interested in, actually, all your teammates are looking at you, and the coaches, everybody really is looking at Skylar. How's Skylar doing? Because this, to me, comes back to what you're saying about your mojo. It's a 10 and you aim to keep it a 10. And it sounds like, to me, do you feel that people feed off your mojo, I suppose, is my question.
100%. I mean, that's a big thing that is very important. At my position is your body language, your aura, the way you carry yourself, the confidence you display is contagious, and that all goes into your mojo, and that's something that I believe since day one that I've had a natural ability to do. I've always been a confident kid, and I'm a competitor. I'm a competitive kid that wants to win at all costs and do everything he can to win. So, and like you said, you're being looked at, I'm being looked at. When things are going really well and we're winning, it's important for me not to get too high and get too caught up in winning. I got to have a aura to me that, yes, it is great that we won, but also being able to control myself and be focused enough to put that in the past and still have that drive, stay even keeled, and not be an emotional roller coaster, going up and down. And same thing when things, because in a football game, there's bad things that are bound to happen. I mean, very rarely are you going to play 60 minutes of perfect football. Like, there are mistakes that are bound to happen. And so whenever things are going downhill a little bit, it's super important for me to stay the same that I am whenever things are going great. You don't want to show any negative emotions. You don't want to show frustration. Even though I'm, a lot of times I feel that way, I can't show it. And honestly, that is a big aspect to myself that I've had to do a lot of work on, because I'm a very competitive kid. And when things go wrong, I get frustrated and I get worked up, just because I want to win so bad. So over my career and my time in college, being able to learn how to channel that into positive energy has been something I've been working on for a long time.
Brilliant. Again, I wanted to talk about, the things that do go wrong, the mistakes, the setbacks. As you say, in a game of football, there's 22 people on the field, so anything can happen, and everyone wants to win at that particular time. So, interceptions, fumbles, sacks, this is the language of the game. So what have you found? As you say, you're this super competitive person. And when things don't go right, obviously there's a natural tendency to frustration. But so how have you channeled that natural, or I should say that positive energy that you're talking to, or channeled it towards positivity? What work have you done?
The biggest thing for me is that I've done in the heat of the moment. And people say, you'll hear people say in the heat of the moment, I said this or I said that, and that is the biggest trap you can fall into whenever things are going south and there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of emotion. That is when people say things that they oftentimes would regret, or do something that they would often regret. And so for me, what works best for me is taking time to sit down on the bench or sit down somewhere on the sideline, quiet my mind, just take a deep breath and relax for a second and just gather my thoughts, gather myself, calm down, and then go address the situation, go motivate my teammates, go encourage my teammates, and have a demeanor about me that I'm not panicking, because that's the last thing you want to do is show that you're panicking, showing that you're flustered. You just want to show poise and confidence in those situations. And that is how I handle that. And honestly, I would say that it took me 3 or 4 years in college to really understand that. And a lot of that comes with maturity and just getting older and having experience in a lot of situations. But that is the key. The key is poise and confidence. And one of our performance coaches that I work with on our team, that's what he tells me all the time. And he is poise and confidence, Skylar, poise and confidence, and he reminds me of that. Like when things are going south, or I throw an interception, or we have a fumble, or things aren't going our way, he'll walk by me and just look at me and say, "Hey, poise and confidence, take a deep breath." So that is a lot of that is like I said, my experience in understanding situations, but also having great coaches around me that have helped teach me how to deal with that.
I was going to say it's what amazing people to have around you to remind you of that, and to develop poise and confidence. It sounds like a mantra to me. That's constantly in your head, that just quietens, as you say, that frustrated, hot-headed moment down to get you into the right. Okay, what can I do now that's going to help the situation? And talking of the kind of the support and the coaching you get, it's great to get a sense, I think, for listeners, of just, I think, the scale of things with US college football, because unless you've maybe experienced it, because it hasn't been on, I'd say, mainstream media so much. I'm talking really from the UK here. NFL absolutely has been since kind of the early 80s, but we were talking before, and what is it that you're getting kind of an average of, is it 60,000 fans to a home game?
Yeah, so our stadium holds 55,000 people, and we sell it out. Obviously COVID kind of changed that a little bit this year, just with restrictions of the count of people in one area. But on a regular basis, in the regular season, there is 55,000 people wearing purple, which is our school color, and going crazy. And it is second to none. I would say out of a lot of universities in the United States, we have one of the best game day atmospheres as you could ask for.
And just putting that into context as well, 55,000 people, that's more fans than most English Premier League teams have capacity for. There's only a few of the clubs that have got a higher capacity than that, and and sell it every week. And I suppose I wanted to sort of set the scene for that, for people who, if they don't know, just to get this sense of, I suppose it comes a bit back to the pressure, the expectation piece that you were talking about before in terms of the position, but also everything that's caught up in college sport, and just the scale of it. Do you feel that weight of expectation?
Yes, There's definitely some pressure with that, just with the fan base, and just naturally, just it's human nature. You want to perform well to make people happy, and be proud. And what I've learned over my time of playing college sports is that you can do all the right things and win games, but there's still going to be people out there that are going to find something that they don't like, or that you're quote unquote not doing well enough. So as a student athlete, it's really important to just understand your purpose, understand what is really important. And for me, that's as I kind of stated earlier, just playing for my teammates and enjoying the moment with them, and my coaches and that process. And just the game is meant to be fun. It's meant to be fun. And if you get caught up in all the exterior things, it puts pressure and it takes the fun out of it. And early on in my career, I've experienced not having fun playing football. So
right.
Like I said, it just takes it. Some of that stuff just takes time, takes experience, takes going through some tough times in order to understand how to deal with that pressure. But it's definitely it can be a lot sometimes.
Yeah. And you said that word, student athletes. I imagine people might just forget that. I know people they pay money to come and see you, but you are not being paid. Obviously, I know American college sport is massive, lots of revenues, but the money doesn't come to the players. You are doing it for joy, for fun. And obviously there's an eye on the future in terms of maybe playing professionally. But I guess that can be forgotten about, perhaps, by some fans. Oh,
yeah, for sure. And there's been a lot of talk about players being paid. But there's so much that goes into that in order for that to play out. So for a lot of us, the people that are on scholarship, we're getting our school paid for. So I'm getting a free education.
Right.
And to me, that is enough. That's enough for me to motivate me to keep going, to help my future self, my future family, my parents. I'm going to walk out of college here next year with an undergraduate degree in business, a minor in leadership studies, and then a master's degree as well, all paid for. So hoping to walk out of here, debt free and not have any student loans that I'm going to pay off in the future. So, that is something that I'm very, very grateful for and appreciate. But yeah, the student side is just a whole nother aspect to the game, because I would say the time commitment for football at this level is very similar to what it's like professionally. But then you also throw in having to go to class, do your homework, study for tests, and you have to maintain a certain GPA in order to be eligible to play. So it's a long. The days seem long, but being busy like that, it sure does go by fast. So
yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
And I guess here's the real difference, I think, between obviously the student athlete experience in the US and probably, again, going back to my experience in the UK. Not that I was an athlete at any particular level, but obviously you're studying, you're playing some sport, but there's an awful lot of other sorts of fun going on. Right. And I'm getting from what you're talking about, you're essentially training as a professional elite athlete. You're also studying and everything that entails. And there's probably not an awful lot of time for kind of the social side. Is that fair, or would you squeeze it in?
When I first got here, there was an academic advisor that told me there's three aspects. There's your athletics, your school, and your social life. And it is almost impossible to be great at all three. You're going to have to sacrifice one of them. For me, that is, and for a lot of people, it is the social aspect, just because our time is so consumed throughout the week and whatnot. But there's certain times throughout the year that, like for right now, we're in the off season. So our weekends, we don't have anything. We don't have a game. We don't have any practice. So this is a time of year that you can be more social. I've found it to be challenging to manage all three and be great at all three. But like I said, I've said time and time again, just having experience and understanding like what works, what clicks for you, I think is very important. And I would say that my social life is, even though that I am so busy, I have a pretty good social life and try to stay connected with people outside of football and make friends and develop relationships outside of football, because that's another area and trap that you can fall into, just being so invested into the football aspect to where you lose track of life outside of football, and us as student athletes, it's super important to understand that, yes, we are football players. We are put on pedestals, all that type of stuff, but there's a lot more to us than just football. And we're humans, we have a personal life, and that's super important to us, and to be valued. So.
Yeah. And that, that's that subject of that theme of, athletes as, remember, we are humans, has come through in every single conversation I've had now with other elite athletes. Because again, I think going back to the fan, that you can fall into the trap of forgetting that and not seeing that side of people. So it sounds to me it's really important for you and your, perspective on life to have other things going on. I appreciate there can't be huge amounts of crazy social life, but just other interests that just balance out this, as I said, this weight of expectation and the pressure.
My background and where I came from, and some things that I've experienced in my life early on in my life have really, just opened my eyes to making sure that, my life outside of football is very important. My family family aspect is a very big part of my life, and valuing those relationships and making sure I take the time out of my day to invest in the people that I love, even if it's a quick text or a quick call to somebody in my family that I haven't talked to in a while, and just reminding them that I'm thinking about them and that I love them, and that type of stuff. And because that's, it's cliche, but people always say, treat others the way you want to be treated. And that's something that I value heavily. And, that you do that, you treat others, you put others before yourself, and sacrifice and love people the right way. Generally good things are going to happen in your life.
And I know family's like absolutely core to you and central to everything. And you talked about, your family instilling those core values in you when you were very young, but equally you went through a huge amount of, you used the word earlier, adversity, in relation to your mother's passing when you were very young. Do you mind talking a bit about that?
Yeah. So yeah, when I was 5 years old, not even in grade school yet, and I walked in. My dad was a principal at the school that I went to. And I went into his office one day after I got out of preschool, and he kind of sat me down and told me that my mom was sick. And I'm obviously really young and had no clue. I mean, I was just thinking, oh, she has a cough or something small, and he didn't really go into detail about it. He said that she's pretty sick and that he might be gone and they might be gone for a little bit time and time again. And then I'd be spending time with my sister or somebody in our family that I'd be staying with. So I was kind of out of the loop and not really understanding what was going on. But yeah, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer when I was 5 years old and was given like 3 months to live from that news. And, and the stage 4 breast cancer, I mean, it was to the stage where the doctors were basically telling her that, you have a short time to live and you just need to go live your life and do the things you want to do. And didn't really recommend having treatment because they said it's pointless. And, my mom does not sit well with my mom from what I've heard from my family. She chose to get treatment. She went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is one of the best cancer treatment centers in the United States, and spent a lot of time there. Her and my dad did, and like I said earlier, just that led me to spend time with staying with my family and staying with my aunts and uncles and all that type of stuff. And she ended up living 6 more months, and instead of 3, and she ended up passing away 6 months later, right before I turned 6 years old. And so, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot because me and my mom were very close. Like I said, my dad was a principal, so he was always gone doing things for the school at night, as far as like supervising basketball games or going to meetings, all that type of stuff. So I was with my mom all the time. And so her and I had a great relationship. We're super close. And then just like that, she's gone, and I'm at a young age where that doesn't make sense to me. And I was very frustrated at the world, very upset, very mad. But over time, like it led me to being very close with my dad. And, honestly, us, both him and I, just bouncing off one another. If you were talking to my dad, he would tell you too that I got him through that situation just as much as he got me through it. And, our relationship and him raising me, I think he always had that in the back of his mind that he didn't want to let my mom down, and put me in the right situations to be successful and to reach my goals and my aspirations. So yeah, that's definitely a challenging time in my life. And my dad's always told me, we may never know the true reason why it happened. But everything happened for a reason, and God has a plan, and to trust that. And honestly, I'm pretty open about sharing this story about my mom, and it's not to receive attention or an applause for how I've gotten through it, but more so just to impact people in this world that are dealing with grief or dealing with hard times. I truly think that what this has taught me and what this situation has molded me into can inspire other people to do the same thing, dealing with grief and a tough loss. Because anytime we lose a loved one, especially a parent, I mean, it's very challenging and very tough. And a lot of the times the world can seem upside down, but no, it's all, worked out. And, she's always on my mind, and especially when times get hard, kind of like we were talking about earlier with getting injured and the adversity that I've faced since she's passed away. It's having that experience and that happen to me just keeps me moving forward, and just knowing, I know she's with me, I know she's on my shoulders and she's believing in me. And that always encourages me and inspires me to keep moving forward, stay positive, and keep chasing my dreams.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that part of the story with us. And I know I've watched a lot of your film, your highlight film, and when the team scores a touchdown, you kind of point up, right? Yeah, and you're thinking about her.
Yes, yeah, no, that's what I do. That's what I do because, like I said, I think about her a lot, especially on game days, because I wish she was there. I wish she could be physically present and see me doing what I'm doing, because I know she'd be very proud and very excited. Just from the stories I've heard about my mom and how competitive she was and energetic. I know she'd be probably one of the most obnoxious fans in the stadium from what people describe her. But yeah, that's just a way of me acknowledging that she's there and hoping that I'm making her proud.
Yeah, well, I know you are, and a lot of other people in and around your family too. And as I said, that family being so important to you, I imagine that is a very important grounding for you as things as we've talked about, as the pressure comes on, as people have their opinions, and look, this, I suppose, looking forward, there's a chance that this pressure, and you say you invite this pressure, could increase as you may think about turning professional in the next year or so. Is that on your mind?
Yeah, that's been my ultimate goal since I was a little kid and knew what football was. I've grown up watching Tom Brady, watching Russell Wilson, watching Drew Brees, watching all the greats, and I've always sat there and been like, I want to be that someday. And, that's obviously that's my ultimate goal and what I would like to do. But at the end of the day, it's important not to look too far ahead or get too far ahead of yourself. Whenever you're setting goals and wanting to accomplish things, because you overlook things and you get too far ahead of yourself, then you miss out on the present moment and the things you're accomplishing right now. And because I'm a firm believer in you gotta win every single day and focus on one day at a time and just winning. Today is Wednesday and I'm gonna win this day. I'm gonna give my very best. I'm gonna win in every aspect. And if I lose, if I have a bad day, I'm gonna learn from it. I'm gonna soak that in and then wake up tomorrow and have a better one. And over time, if you do that, things are gonna click. Things are gonna work itself out. And even if it's not the NFL, for me, I know by me having that mindset and that approach that whichever direction I go after college football, that I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be set up to succeed. And that's the best way to go about it. And my dad's always told me that. My coaches have always told me that's how I approach it.
Yeah. So I love that sense of presence that you've got, but equally you've got, I can tell, a steely determination, competitive zeal for this is what I really want to get to, and just balancing those two off.
Yeah. And I'll tell you my approach right now is I'm laser focused on going to the NFL, and that's where my heart's at. That's where my mind's at until I'm guided otherwise. That's what it's going to be. And, that's always how I've been. I've been very, very goal driven, my entire life of writing things down of this is what I want to accomplish. This is how I'm going to do it. Right. These are the steps in order for me to get to that level. And for me, that is being successful right now as a college quarterback at K-State. Yeah. So for me, just prioritizing, yes, I want to play at the next level. I want to be a professional athlete, but right now where my focus needs to be is on Kansas State and impacting my teammates, being a great leader, and being the best football player I can be right now for Kansas State and help us win football games. Because that is, it's a ripple effect. You have success at this level. That's what all the scouts and GMs at the NFL level are looking at. They're looking at what you do on film, how you perform, how you carry yourself. It's in every aspect, especially at the quarterback position. Just from what I've learned and gathered, when you're going through the draft process and getting scouted, they're calling your academic people. They're asking, how is Skylar in school? Does he show up on time? Does he get his homework done?
Wow.
How are his grades? Did he put effort into school? They're calling my trainers and asking them, how does he deal with an injury? How does he deal with adversity? Does he attack it? Does he pout about it? What's his demeanor like? What's his, approach to being hurt? I mean, you'd be shocked by how many people they reach out to just to find out every little thing about you. And I actually, before I got hurt, my high school football coach received something in the mail at my high school from the Oakland Raiders. That was a questionnaire to my high school coach about how did he treat his high school teachers? Did he ever have detention? Did he ever go to the principal's office? How is he for you and your program in high school? You know what I'm saying? So it is a whole nother world.
That's amazing to hear. And I thank you for shining a light on that, because, what we might know, obviously the quarterback, as we said, is this pivotal position. It's a heavily invested, from a monetary point of view, position. There are big contracts, but I never had a sense that the depth of recruitment energy that goes into it goes so far back into, as you're talking about, not just, your stats and how well you play, but the human being you are. I guess that's what they're trying to find out.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, because I mean, in the NFL, the quarterback is the face of the franchise, and they're not going to invest in anybody or put their money in anybody's hands that is not going to take it seriously or do things the right way. Yeah. And it's an investment for that team, and so it is an ongoing interview process. I mean, all the time, and it just goes back to what I said earlier about just I'm being watched in everything I do, and even if it seems so little, it's not. And so that definitely keeps me focused and keeps me driven on doing the right things all the time, and having good focus, because I know whenever that time comes for me to get my shot at the next level, that people are going to want to know everything about me. And when that happens, I want them, obviously don't want it to be fake. I want it to be genuine love and people speaking about me the way that I would hope they would, and that's a big part of my job. So.
I think everything you were talking about, your upbringing, there's core values you've been instilled with, and really your maturity. I mean, you're 22, 23.
Yep.
Wow. I actually look back at myself at that age, and we were very different, but your world is very different as well. But I think I know that's gonna do you so much good, whatever you channel your energies at. And I hope, my hope's behind you, that you'll get that shot at that NFL career. That would be amazing. I will certainly be supporting you on late nights here in Europe when we're watching games. So Skylar, thank you so much for joining us today. I close often with three kind of short questions, or a question asking for three things. And we've talked a bit about it already, but are there like a few things, some habits you have every single day, which, these are the things I must do for me to have that mojo at that 10 where I want it to be?
That's actually very interesting. You asked me that. So as I kind of talked about earlier, with our performance coach, his name is Ben Newman. So with him, I wrote down a daily play card, is what we call it. And like whenever I call plays for our team, I have a wristband on my wrist that has every single one of our plays, that whenever the coach is signaling a number, that's the play I read off in the huddle, and that's what we go with. So what he basically described it as, this is your game card to life. And so what I do, I have this card in my room that I wrote a daily prayer on there. I wrote my daily motivation. So like what we quote unquote say the burn, like what's the burn inside of you that keeps you going every single day. And for me, that's my mom. Yeah. So like I wrote down my burn is Teresa Lynn Thompson, and I'm going to live her legacy out today, and I'm going to fight the way she fought today. And then from there, I have my I am statements. So I have about 6 statements that I tell myself every day. So like one of them is like, I'm going to be a relentless leader on and off the field. I'm going to impact every single person I touch today. I'm going to play in the NFL. I'm going to be an NFL draft pick. Like those are my I am statements. And then from there, on my bottom of my play card, I have my goals. So my daily goals. So I have personal goals, my athletic goals, and then my service goals. So my personal goals, I have, I'm speaking off the top of my head here, just so I might miss some, but one of my personal goals is to love others the way I want to be loved, treat others with respect, and love them the best that I can. And then read my Bible or read a devotion and pray. And then my athletic goals is I want to stay above 220 pounds. So what goes into that? So my nutrition, making sure I'm eating right and eating healthy proteins, eating my vegetables, drinking a gallon of water a day, making sure I'm stretching and doing all the recovery to take care of my body, and then doing extra work in the weight room. So after our required lifts, doing extra work that's going to benefit my position and what I need to work on. And then my service goals are to, I call it an unexpected touch to a teammate. So I want to impact a teammate that's not expecting me to impact them today. So whether if that's reaching out to a teammate that I don't really know very well or have a great relationship with and just getting to know them more, or taking somebody out to eat and just getting to know them more in depth, just outside of football. And then my other goal there is to develop relationships with younger guys on the team. So like freshmen, guys who just got here that I don't know well at all, just try to, on the daily, get to know them more. Yeah. So I know that's a lot more than but that is literally, so I wake up every single day.
Yeah.
And I read that, I go through that. And at the end of the day, before I go to sleep, I read through it again. Okay, did I do this? Did I do this? If I didn't do this today, I'm making sure I get it done tomorrow. And that is what, keeps me focused every single day. And like I said, just that winning the day. To me, if I do those things on my play card, I'm winning today. Yeah. And that keeps me on track.
I love that. I think a game card to life, we could all do with one of those. And, a lot of those things, there's visualization in there. There's goals. There's, all these things that just set you up, as you say, to win the day. I mean, what a fantastic thing for us all to take on in some way and have that reminder. Brilliant. Well, Skylar Thompson over there in Kansas, thank you so much for spending time with the Mojo Podcast today. It's been wonderful hearing your story. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was wonderful. I appreciate you.
What a guy. Just the nicest, most decent young man, doing his family, friends and school proud. How he's developed as a man from an incredibly difficult childhood is a testament to him. I'm sure finding his passion in football helped him to a degree, but I have a feeling that with his core values, Skylar would have found success whatever he chose to do, and indeed wherever his life takes him after football. His focus on the present is also worth noting, because so much of college football is about the what next, the draft to the NFL team, the contract, the future career. But here he is 100% focused on what he's doing right now. As he says, if you were to take his eyes off that, you're in danger of missing the amazing things you're accomplishing right now. And on a practical note, how good is the daily play card? All your key values, goals, beliefs in immediate reach. It's really smart technique actually, and I often talk to my coaching clients about using vision boards and codifying their values and capturing them somewhere where you can see them daily, and this is right in that space. Something to think about for yourself perhaps. I hope you loved that chat as much as I did. Remember to subscribe, rate and please do leave a short review about the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Okay, I have another amazing Mojo story coming up for you in 2 weeks' time. But until then, I hope your mojo continues to flow.